Hey guys, and welcome back for another video. What is it with you and messing with my hair? Is there a reason that my hair is constantly under attack in these videos?
It's because I see you put so much work into it, I can't help but mess it up.
Just dirty. Put your mouth all in her. This video right here was so good. And this young lady is so young and she's so smart and eloquent. And the way she put this video, I think anybody who's a parent or even if you're just a child, you can relate to this video. And I think her message needs to be heard. So let's go ahead and get our listening ears open. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you so much for joining us. And let's get started. This is genuinely just a video coming from like love, care, and just wanting to like educate people and encourage people. First thing I wrote down in my notes is Psalm 127 verse 3. It says, children are a gift from the Lord. They are a reward for him. One of the signs that you have a toxic parent is if they make you, the child, feel like you're a burden. They can make you feel like you're a financial burden. And they just make it seem like their life would have just been so much more fruitful without kids. Okay, you didn't ask your parents, you didn't ask God to bring you into the world. You got brought into this world. So it's a parent's responsibility to look after that child. The reason I chose this video in particular is because I'm a mom and my kids are still pretty young. So I want to make sure that I do things the right way. Make sure that I don't repeat some of the behaviors that they had. Any thoughts so far?
I've heard plenty of parents say, it's like, man, if I didn't have all these kids, I could be doing this and this. Well, it's one of those things that why did you choose to have the kids? When I was a teenager, I would get into an argument with my mom or whatnot, and I would just think, it's like, I didn't ask to be here. It is a parent's responsibility to raise that child.
Yeah. Wow. How you know you have a toxic parent is if your parents have no boundaries. Now, I want to preface this. I should have said this at the beginning. Parents are not perfect. I think the important thing is not to use that as a cop-out, because there's parents that like to use that as a cop-out to say, I'm not perfect, I tried my best. It's a cop-out because really nobody takes accountability for anything they did. It's just, I'm not perfect, I didn't do this, get on with it. No, there's an importance in understanding and recognizing that you're not perfect, you mess up, but acknowledging that and trying to do better. If you live in a house where your parents feel like it's okay to like take your money, for example, put their hand in your purse, your wallet, take out a little bit of money when they need it, they don't say anything, they don't even address it, they just help themselves to your money, that's that's like a big issue. There's no accountability, there's no, oh, I'm sorry about that, or there's no acknowledgement. It's just entitlement. The idea that your parent would take your own money, none of that was my experience. I can say that actually my parents made it a point to never want to accept things from us. They would tell us, like, when we would try to buy them gifts, like, don't waste your money and stuff on us. We want you to save your money and use it for yourself. Like, they never actually required anything from me.
But this isn't a shame to my mom or anything, because I do have some relatives that watch these videos. But no, my mom never actually took any money from me without asking. She would always ask and borrow. And when I got older, it kind of, let's just say the borrowing became like, let's put it like this. It'll be those situations where the person borrowed it so long that it's like, in the back of my head, I just think, I'm never going to get it back. I might as well, you don't even got to pay me back. It's fine. Oh, I did the best I could. And when I hear that, it does sort of get me boiling, because I part of me want to lash out and tell people who say this that, well, I guess your best wasn't good enough. I've taken the things I've liked growing up as a child, and I'm trying to apply it to my kids, and the things I didn't like as a child, I basically did away with.
I mean, and that's real. Like, at the end of the day, you know, our parents are perfect just like us. So I mean, there were issues, you know, growing up, but I mean, for the most part, I can remember my parents actually coming to me and like apologizing. I don't know if my dad ever did, but I know my mom definitely did in times where she was wrong. And I think that's important because there are going to be days where you're making a mistake. And if you can let your child know, like, hey, this wasn't right, you know, that gives them a level of respect so that when they get into the real world, they won't let other people walk all over them.
Like, you owe them your life because they brought you into the world. They're wanting to put so much of a burden and so much responsibility on their children because they feel like that child owes them their life. Your parents feeling like you have to take out a loan for them, right? Or you have to lie for them. And if you don't do these things, they make you feel like you betrayed them, or you know, you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing as their child because I'm your parent, I'm your mother, I'm your father, I brought you into this world, therefore you owe me. You don't owe them anything.
I don't know. It just makes me conscious of it. Again, I don't know if I ever felt like that. My parents must have been really good now that I think about it, because this is not something I can relate to.
Well, this is, again, this isn't a shame towards my mom, but I mean, this is truth. This is totally something that I've dealt with because my mom used to say to us, it was 7 of us, I have 7 kids. It's no reason I should be struggling. As soon as when I got my first job, I was paying rent. So I had paid rent for her, well, to her, up until I moved out.
So when you say, she would say to you, I have 7 children, I shouldn't be struggling. Was it pretty much a guilt trip, you think?
I think it was a guilt trip. I think it was her speaking out of anger. Actually, most parents, if they did right in their life, they really won't need their children to financially assist them that much. When you expect your children to pay for everything when they're older, when you made it so hard for them to get where they are when they were younger, what do you expect?
Number 4, they call the truth disrespect. You stopped communicating with your father, and your father asks you, Siri, what's the honest reason you stopped communicating with me? What's the honest truth? Like, please just tell me why you stopped communicating with me. I'd love to know. Why don't we have a good relationship? So you proceed to tell them, well, I just personally feel like, you know, when I was younger, you weren't really there for me. You didn't do this for me. I felt abandoned. Blah, blah, blah. And then he responds with, you're disrespectful. You see, I've tolerated the disrespect and it's too much. It's too much. You're disrespectful. You have no manners. You're rude. And I'm thinking to myself, you asked me a question and I answered the question truthfully and now I'm disrespectful? Like, they've made me feel so bad, like I did something so bad, when in reality you just told the truth. You answered truthfully, they don't like the answer, they don't like what you said, so now you're disrespectful. I just told you the truth, you didn't like it.
I can say that absolutely unequivocally I can agree with that. My dad was 100% like that. And I know a lot of Black men that are, you know, older from that generation are like that. They're all about respect. As a man, as a father, you know, a child is always supposed to stay in a child's place, whether they're right or not. It's like they don't even hear you. They're tone deaf to a child's voice sometimes, I feel like. And I think some men are even tone deaf to a woman's voice in some cases. Let's be real, you know, but...
You say something?
See what I mean? Just heard that because I can literally remember like saying stuff to my dad and him being like, you're just being disrespectful. You shouldn't say that. Stay in a child's place. And it's like, but you did something that was okay.
And you know what? That's why I feel it's so important as parents to actually lead by example. I saw growing up and I didn't agree with is that, what is it? You ever heard this term, do as I say, not as I do? But say, for instance, if I'm using profanity and then my child starts using profanity, do I really have the right to correct them when they've observed me exhibiting that same behavior? So, I mean, I hate to say it, rather than that, it should be what's good for the goose is good for the gander.
I think people just have to be open to hearing something from a child sometimes because they can actually be truthful and honest in what they're telling you. And it's like, if you don't want to hear it just because it comes from somebody young, it's just, I don't know.
Lack of respect for kids. First of all, your parents just don't respect you, period. And I don't really need to go into this one because it kind of overlaps with the whole boundary thing. When your parent has an obsession with respect and creating a false reality to people that everything is good at home, and instead of addressing the issue, they'll say, shh, lower your voice, don't disgrace me. Don't let people hear. Don't disgrace me, because they're far more concerned about embarrassment, being disgraced, than actually dealing with what's going on in the home.
I get where she's coming from, but I can't agree with the Chinese or the Japanese. They have a method where it's like they will listen to what if their child did something wrong in public. They will take their child outside of the public's eye and address the situation.
It's a time and a place, like you were just saying. I mean, if you're in a public setting, that I can be understanding. You don't want everybody in your business.
Rather than embarrassing somebody in front of a large group of people, rather than pointing out the discrepancy or what happened in the private where it's just you and that person, I think things will go better that way. That's just me.
Now, I know it sounds crazy because it's like, why would a mother be jealous of their daughter? But it's actually a thing. When you have disagreements, when you have little arguments, right? If your mother always resorts to insulting your body, right? Insulting your appearance, your physical appearance, you might have a jealous mother.
Okay, now that's pretty weird. Never experienced that either. Thankfully, my mother always complimented me and told me that I was beautiful. I didn't have that issue. And even if she was angry with me, she would always just talk about whatever behavior I was exhibiting or whatever I may have said or, what have you. It wasn't about my looks. So maybe she's experienced that. Maybe her mom would talk about what she looked like, and that's not good. I've definitely seen viral videos of moms doing that.
I've heard of stuff like that. I've never experienced that myself. So I wouldn't know anything about that. That sounds pretty rough.
I literally did a video. I'll link it in the description. It was on World Star. Some mom forcing her teenage daughter to hold weights up against the door, and she was talking about her body and what she was wearing, and in a kind of derogatory way.
The constant comparison makes you grow up feeling inadequate, right? You shouldn't be comparing your children to other people's children. Just point blank, period. Don't compare, because everybody is different. If you want your child to do better at school, encourage them, support them to do better at school. Don't compare them to another child. This happened years ago, but when I actually started taking God seriously and I was really trying to live that life, this happened a couple years ago while I was at university. Now, all my family, friends, whatever, back home in Scotland, they all obviously were kind of used to me being a certain way. I started to post a bit more faith-based things right on my social media. I had certain family members, who would say to me, they would do the worst thing to me. They would do such horrible things to me. And they would say, oh, but you're a Christian, you should forgive me. You call yourself a Christian and you're still angry at what I did? How dare you even talk back to me? You're supposed to be a Christian. Doesn't the Bible say respect your father and your mother? No, but people skip the Bible verse that says that parents should not provoke their children by the way you treat them. People want to skip over that, but they want to talk about the one that says respect your father and your mother and all this other stuff. People just want to use what benefits them. That's manipulative. People want to pick Bible verses, right, that kind of give them an edge. They'll be doing the wickedest things, the wickedest, heinous things, but they'll use Bible verses to be like, well, respect me. But let's deal with what you did though.
That's one of the reasons why I chose this video, because I loved the fact that this girl was from Scotland. And I'm just to hear the fact that, way across the pond, but yet you know, we're both black and we can have the same or similar experiences growing up. I mean, I can relate to a lot, but not all of what she said. But I mean, even some of the things you said you can experience or had experience growing up.
And as I stated before, I was paying rent all the way up until I moved out. At one point, I had lost my job, but luckily I was getting unemployment for a little while. Even then, I had to, you know, pay rent. That at least, what can I say? What doesn't kill you make you stronger. The thing that made me kind of break away from my parent is because I felt, after being wrong so many times, why would somebody who believes in the Bible do this and think it's so, like, do it so nonchalantly?
You know, we as black parents, we do have to be careful, and it's more than just making better decisions. You know, ultimately, if you're not ready to be a parent, don't become one. Because like she said from the beginning, if you're making your kids feel bad, being financially a burden, that means you were not ready to have kids and you had them. You can prevent children from being born in 2023, and the fact that you're not is kind of weird. Like, if you're not on birth control and you're not ready for kids, that's dumb as heck. Like, you're actually stupid. And I know, like, some people are like, well, I believe and blah blah blah, but it's like, if you can't afford a kid, like, shut up and get yourself protected or stop banging.
I'll tell you this, it's okay to break away from people, whether they're family, friends, to get away from them in order to, one, keep your sanity, and sometimes in order to progress in life, because sometimes it's those very people that say they love you that's preventing you from moving forward.
Thank you guys for watching. We appreciate you. Don't forget to leave us your thoughts, like and subscribe, and we will see you next time.